Welcome to my summer of learning. For my summer of learning, I've decided that I'm going to take a little bit of a step out and interview myself using a green screen technology and from Do Inc. and have a conversation about the learnings that I had in the course. So the very first thing I'd like to do is introduce myself. This is Kelly Christopherson, and we're going to have a conversation about the summer of learning for ECI831. So first off, Kelly, can you give us an idea of what the course was about? Well, ECI is about social media and using social media from a practical and theoretical perspective for your own learning, for your classroom learning, and for reflection and connection as a professional. And so the course centers around developing a PLN and interacting with other people, whether they be people who are coming into the class during our Blackboard Illuminate sessions where they would share with us an expertise that they had, or if it was the class itself over the course developing and sharing with one another. So students in the course were suggested that they start to develop a personal learning network, a PLN. So things like developing and having a Twitter account, joining the Google community, putting your blog on the blog hub, and then reading each other's blogs, commenting on each other's blogs, using each other's blogs for your own reflection, and then pinging back to them, connecting them in your writing. It was really, the time was to develop as an individual and begin to understand the power of social media and the power of connections and relationships. That sounds very interesting. Can you give us an idea of some of the presenters or some of the presentations that you had during the course and the impact that these had on you as an individual? Sure, I'd be happy to share. The very first presenter was Alec, and he kind of outlined the class for us, kind of the expectations and what was expected. And then he was also our last presenter, and he really summed up very nicely what we had done through the course and some of the things that we had been discussing, and the whole idea of how absolutely necessary it is for us to work with the technologies that we have and to work with our students and our own children and to help them navigate the changes that are going on. Our first out-of-course presenter was Dr. Rick Schweer from the U of S, and he did a great job of kind of giving us a background to technology and the evolution and development of technology, and then really challenged us to take a look at, how are we using technology and where does it fit for us. Dave Cormier was our next presenter. He talked about rhizomatic learning and the whole idea that learning is not just linear. It doesn't just happen in straight paths. It happens kind of like rhizomes, and then reaching out. And I even look at my own Twitter and my own online experience, and that's what it's like. Like I'll have 3 or 4 people follow me, and I have no idea how they found me or where it came from. It's that rhizomatic extensions of connections. Sue Walters was our next presenter, and she did an awesome job of helping people with blogs, giving ideas for blogs, showing us that blogs were more than just about writing. And then the great part about her was that she continued to come back and help students, continued to come back and help people, giving people links and ideas. And it just shows the power of connection. You're not alone. You can find people. Michael Wacker was our next presenter. He presented about Google Apps for education and all the things that teachers can do. I've used Google Apps, and as a teacher, the teacher desktop would be something I would be really interested in. And I've always found that since I started using Google Apps, it's a wonderful experience. Sylvia Martinez presented to us about the Maker Movement, and I've read her book, Invent to Learn, and been following her for quite some time. And for me, the power with her presentation was how excited people got about it and how it changed some of the classmates. And it was wonderful to watch, the blog posts and the things they were doing. I mean, that's the power that's there, and the power of having connections and reaching out. Bonnie Stewart was our next presentation, and she was talking about network identities, and for me, the learning piece was the idea that once you start having deep conversations about various discourses that are taking place in society and around education, the power of connection becomes so important, and you can really see the depth of being connected, right? And the networks that go out, and the conversations that you can have that you probably, I mean, you might have, but probably you're not going to have with most of the people that are in your building or around you. So, I mean, that's the power of it. Alan Levine was our next presenter, Cogdog, and he talked about storytelling. I followed his blog for a long time, and I mean, the whole idea of storytelling, the power that it has to connect to people, and the tools that you can use. I mean, there was so much that went on in that class. Our last guest was Audrey Waters, and she talked about gender in ed tech and her presentation on Manspeak. And for me, it was a continuation of a realization of just how important it is for us to have these conversations about gender, about race, about class, and that we need to be willing to step up, and we need to be willing to have a voice. And the conversations, like I said, having those deep conversations about the discourses that are happening are so powerful. And that's, to me, the thing about connections and networking and those kind of things. I mean, it's just the power to connect and the power to learn. And as more teachers see that and experience that, it translates into the classroom, and you see transformations in the classroom. And that's what it's all about. It's about, you know, doing what's best for kids. So if you were going to give a summary and kind of wrap things up about, you know, what you learned and the learning that you did, what would you say? Well, I guess the things I would say about my learning and what I really noticed is connections are vital. Connections are so important. Social media and those tools allow us to connect and develop relationships that we hadn't been able to in the past. Reflection is vital and key to what we do as educators and as people, and I think that, you know, being able to interact with other people and reflect about what you're learning and what you're doing and having those discussions is so important. And being critical consumers, being aware of what's going on around us is so important, because we can share that with our students. And I guess being critical content creators. Teachers and other people, you know, we need to create content. We can't just be consumers, and our students need to create content. And I think those are the things that you know, from this course, that I think I take away, that continue to create content, to continue to connect, and continue to build relationships. Well, thank you very much, Kelly, for sharing with us, and for letting us know how you thought about this class. I hope you've enjoyed my summary of learning. I'd like to thank all my classmates for the incredible time sharing and reading what you've done. I'd like to thank Alec and Katia and all the presenters. It was a wonderful learning experience, and I highly recommend it.